You know you need a no smoking sign behind your desk when you're lighting up.
Yeah, everybody's a comedian.
We just need a no smoking.
You get elected to the legislature, and all of a sudden everybody's a fucking comedian. You think this is a joke, hey?
No, I think it's the fun. It's the fun part. I like watching you smoke the cigarette with the no smoking sign. That's how I feel about it.
Bet you do.
I got to get a fan so I can like blow the smoke.
Tell me that's rolling, Mark. It is. Oh, my God. Now you're in for it, Jay. So I know you got to get out of here and waste more of our money.
No.
All right. No. All right, so we're rolling. Hey, Ken, what the fuck are you emailing me this video at 9:21 in the evening? This is the year in review, because we only do our own work here. So, like, what's been going on with our exclusive and viral journalism? And what we decided to do was do AI Charlie. So that would be CHARLIE. So I wrote the words, Ken put my 15 minutes of the show into the computer, AI got my rhythm, then Ken read the words, and then AI spit it out. I haven't seen it. But I think, Ken, when we're doing something as experimental as this, you're not just like, what would you do? You were editing a shitty other guy's podcast, weren't you? That's what you were doing. We're AIing me now.
Scary.
And he's emailing at 9:21 in the evening. I'm already sleeping. All right, let's see about this. Okay, it's full disclosure. This is me, but not me. Okay, and I'm not guilty of anything anymore. No. It's all a deep fake.
Wasn't me.
Wasn't me. I didn't do that. That was a deep fake. Roll it.
And now an Enjoyer News update with Charlie LeDuff.
Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is frying under a DOJ microscope over his handling of the nursing homes. Meanwhile, Whitmer hasn't even been put under oath. What does she know? It'll cost $3,147.80 to find out. Signature.
There's my signature.
Dana Nessel hounding One Finger Freddy and her political enemies for campaign finance fraud. But when is she going to investigate her wife, accused of doing the very same thing?
What are the 5 Grosse Points cities?
Well, look, I'm not here to answer a quiz.
Now to Sri Tanadar, the Michigan congressman who doesn't even know who he represents. His fellow Dems have told him to F off with his impeachment resolution against Trump, so the effort is all but dead, just like his beagles.
We will come for you.
Jocelyn Benson is now the subject of a federal investigation for issuing bogus, real IDs. The Dearborn terror suspect has been ordered to be deported. He appeals on humanitarian grounds.
They have literally taken my home.
Eastside Mayor Charles Brooks defeats downtown Mayor Mike Duggan and has his deed returned. Downtown Mayor Mike Duggan runs for governor as fraud allegations and financial troubles plague the city. Stay tuned, Michigan. Much more to come.
I like that. That was good.
Roll the intro, Mark. Show killer.
Live from downtown Detroit, it's the No Bullshit News Hour with my main man, Charlie LeDuff and Karen Dumas.
It's just it, breaking news. Double bullshit. Double bullshit.
I'm Grace Karros, and I'm third generation of American Coney Island. People say Detroit's a comeback city. I say, where you been? We've been here for over 100 years. My family's been here on the same corner, serving our famous proprietary American Coney Island hot dog. So like always, we're keeping things fresh, updated, and new. We'd love to have you come downtown and visit us, but if you can't, you can always go to AmericanConeyIsland.com, order a Coney kit, get it delivered fresh right to your door.
Well, you know, when it rains, the power goes out. And when the power goes out, the internet goes out. When the internet goes out, I call my friend Matt and Bernie at XG Service Group. Look at Bernie here on his hands and knees, giving it everything he's got. Look at that man crack. So busy. he forgot to wear a belt. There's Matt right there getting the board together. That's 734-245-4100 if you need Matt and Bernie to come take care of your voice over internet, your security cameras, off-campus access control, Wi-Fi, and cameras for homes and business. They'll design it for you. You got restaurants, they do drive-through systems, railroad cameras for public safety, total wireless camera systems for your home and business. Yeah, that's right. Call XG Services at 734-245-4100. I really think I am getting better looking with age.
I just think that you have the advantage of the perfect lighting and the whole 9 yards. When I look back, I'm like, why do I look like that? And Charlie looks like that. Nah.
Representative Jay DeBoyer from St. Clair County?
St. Clair County, Macomb, and St. Clair. I represent both counties. Yeah.
Right up there. He is a baller. You know who this guy is? He's the head of the oversight committee. So what's the guy in D.C.? James Comer?
Comer, yeah.
So you're the Michigan James Comer.
I suppose.
Well, give me some Bon Hami. Give me a funny line.
Oh gosh, what people have said to me is, if you do your job right, you'll be the most feared man in Lansing. And I said, well, I'm not looking to be feared. I'm just looking for the state to run right.
Well, look here, dude. All right, just putting you on the boiler now. What's up? Where's the justice? Are you okay? Number one, Gretchen Whitmer, nursing homes.
Yeah.
Cuomo has got a federal investigation, not for killing the people, but for lying about killing the people. What's Whitmer? Get to skate off into the sunset? Are you going to get us some justice?
Oh, no. Yeah, we're looking into it for sure.
What do you mean? Give us a little bit. She listens.
Yeah, that's great, and she should, because...
No, she hears. She's not listening.
Well, yeah, right. There's no reaction or behavior change. But the reality is, for the first time in a long time, there's an oversight committee that is a legitimate oversight committee. And things like the nursing home deaths, it's probably the number one email and phone call we get, believe it or not.
You hear that, Joe?
Because so many people lost loved ones during that period. And, hey, I get it. Early on, people were scared. They didn't know what to expect initially,
yes,
right?
Yes.
But I'm just a lumber salesman, right? I don't know the first thing about it. And I could tell you about 60 days in that if you were old and sick or overweight or had preconditions, COVID was going to be dangerous. But after that, no, you're going to be sick for a few days and you're going to be just fine. But they just ran it out and ran it out and ran it out and ran it out. And then moved people with COVID into nursing homes. So,
Isn't that crazy?
Could you have made a worse decision?
It's like I've never been in a prairie fire, but I know not to throw hay on it.
Very good.
Or gasoline.
Very good.
Or lumber.
Right. Correct.
Or lumber.
So the short answer to your question is yes, we're looking at it, and I would say that you're going to see discussion, you're going to see requests, you're going to see hey, would you like to come and talk to us? Would you send somebody from your health department? I would like to know how much the health director got paid that resigned.
And why he resigned. What was that, Robert Gordon?
Yeah, I think that's right.
He ended up being the assistant secretary of Health and Human Services in D.C. Does that tell you how awful government is? Mm-hmm. Sick. Okay, here's my number. If you need any help on that, here's where I would point you, sir. That's my number. You can just use that anytime you want. One, Cuomo. Okay, so we shut down society. Mm-hmm. Kids don't go to school. You don't go to the lumber yard because you might pick up COVID and have to lay down for a few days. But grandma could get it and die. And so, okay, I get it. But part two of that was, let's put grandma in the nursing home of grandpa. It's like fucking retarded, right? Cuomo got busted. He was keeping track and wasn't keeping track, and he got caught. So for 40 days he did this. New Jersey did this. Pennsylvania did this. Harry Balls over there in Minnesota did this, and Gavin Newsom did this. They did it, and they lied. Cuomo quit after 40 days. Whitmer did it through the whole fucking pandemic and never counted. So what I would be looking for are those communications, because I know they're there because I have some of them. You knew you weren't counting, and you knew they were dying, and you knew you were lying about the numbers, and you kept doing it.
But what's the implication of an investigation at this point? I mean, she's finishing up her last term.
Yeah.
What good will it do?
Well, I guess if you're only focused on Gretchen Whitmer, you're right. There could be a little bit that question holds some value. But the reality is as we all know, if we pay attention, Government's going to continue, and we're going to have other catastrophes that we face in the future. So we need to understand our failures during that period. And Gretchen Whitmer or, the man on the moon, it doesn't matter. We need to understand what was done. By the way, I want to know what kind of political motivation was going on here, because the truth is she wants to run for president, right?
Of
maybe the local Little League. I don't know, but
not qualified.
But she wants to. She wants to. And so
wait, she was a grandma killer, and now she's going to be a baby killer? Is that what you're telling me?
Potentially, I suppose.
God, not having it.
So it's.
But I interrupted. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. Just going forward, we need to understand the decisions that were made. And the people back home say to me all the time, when are you going to do something to make government operate like it's supposed to in a better manner? So if we don't look retrospectively at our behaviors and where we failed and implement policies that prevent that failure in the future, who are we kidding? It's just wash, rinse, repeat, and keep doing the same thing over and over again. No way. But not while I'm there.
But isn't that where leadership matters? I mean, in terms of decisions that are made, and again, like you said, it was a pandemic. Nobody knew what to do. Everybody was afraid. But then kind of common sense and some leadership abilities or acumen make a difference. Again, cross-contamination is a very basic thing. If you're cooking raw meat, you wash your hands. I mean, things like that. So I'm not so sure policy could supersede just common sense.
Well, no, I agree with that. Common sense is the one thing that we're lacking most in our society currently, because we've created a nanny state that protects everybody from everything, but at the end of the day, actually doesn't protect anybody from anything.
Then why do they call it common
sense? Well, it used to be. You used to have it to actually survive.
Yeah.
To actually survive. You don't have to have it.
Maybe I was younger and I was naive, but I thought you actually had to have it to govern.
I'd be a good tenant, I would say.
It's
for
a
sure.
bad times. Okay, number 2 on the rundown. Hit me. Hit me again. Now listen real close, Dana. Jay DeBoyer, chairman of the oversight committee in Lansing. A couple things going on with her. She charges her political enemies with campaign finance fraud, and yet her wife and her campaign was referred to Dana, and the fraud is alleged to be even greater. Are you looking into that one?
Yes.
Oh! Breaking news. Hit me.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Why do you do this to me?
Breaking news. He's tired from the debate. We got breaking news. Hit me, Jay.
Yep. So the way I understand it, there's a referral laying on Dana Nessel's desk in regard to what was the organization?
Fair and Equal Michigan.
Fair and Equal Michigan. Okay. With regard to the some campaign finance things, also some signature gathering stuff that, wow, ironically mirrors one that she's actually prosecuting right now. But it's been laying on her desk 3 years, maybe something like that.
Right.
And nothing's going on. And what you're going to see out of her office on a regular basis is a very, very, a lack of consistency, I guess. Right. So, if the one she's prosecuting is guilty, then so be it. I mean, that's no big deal. But if you're going to selectively prosecute, yeah, that's a big problem. And not to get off topic, but you just saw that she came out with an opinion that the Secretary of State also is in violation of campaign finance. But in her letter, if you haven't read it yet, it'd be worthwhile to read it. In her letter where they're summarizing it, they say at the end that, essentially the legislature would have to act to change the law in order for Dana Nessel to prosecute this. That's actually not true. If you look at the statute that she's operating under, and you read subsection 17, it says it's up to the Secretary of State's office to refer it to the Attorney General's office for prosecution. So if Jocelyn Benson has 1 ounce of ethics and credibility, 1 ounce of honesty in her, she will refer that back to the Attorney General's office.
God, that's a good. I could write that down. Okay, hold on. Okay, and what about Tracy Cornack, the lawyer, friend of Nessel, friend of Whitmer, state treasurer for the Michigan Democratic Party, and Nessel getting in the way of a criminal investigation of her trying to allegedly bilk an elderly person?
We're putting those pieces together right now.
You're busy.
This is a real job, believe it or not.
Lay it out for us, because I'm living
We're putting
this
those
stuff.
pieces together right now. And the way I understand it, again, we're trying to gather information. You're trying to vet what's accurate, what isn't accurate, where the truth resides, right? The way I understand it right now, essentially, there was a shell game that went on with an elderly individual that there was some billing to health insurance on. And the person that was kind of steering this shell game, this is, again, how I understand it. If I'm wrong, I'd love to hear from the people involved to tell me that I'm wrong. Maybe they'd come in and testify under oath. That the money was supposedly to pay her daughter for nursing work that she did for this elderly individual. And then they billed the insurance company. The insurance company claimed no way. And money was removed from the lady's account. So we're putting all the pieces together. And that's the chair of the Democratic Party. So one of the things you're going to see that's going on in Lansing, and this was eye-opening for me. I've only been there about 2.5 years, is that the powers that be see this giant opportunity over there with tax dollars and protectionism, and they use those things to further their own financial benefit. And that's pretty disappointing. And, I'm not making a direct allegation in this topic. I'm just saying that you don't get away with this if you're the average Joe. And so that is lying on the table with Dana Nessel as well.
How does this play out?
Well,
do you subpoena them to come give testimony?
That it could end up at that point. Like I've always said, and when we started this oversight committee, for what it's worth, the first words out of their mouths were, "This is going to be a weaponization, and you're going to use it, and you're going to use it. It's going to be political." And so, if I could segue just for a second, the first subpoena we issue is for training materials from the Secretary of State on how they're training local clerks and administering elections.
And you used to be a clerk, did you not?
I did for 12 years. And instead of complying, Jocelyn Benson says, "I'll see you in court." Pretty transparent, in my opinion.
Okay, you're a former city clerk or county clerk?
County clerk.
County clerk in charge of elections.
Yep.
You just want the training materials.
Yep.
This isn't the code to the bomb.
Not at all.
This should be. I should be able to Google it.
Correct.
And I'll see you in court.
Yeah, it's protected behind a thing called e-learning, which you have to have a login.
Asshole.
Yeah, login and password to get into. And
somebody has to say it. What an asshole, Jocelyn. What an asshole.
But this is an individual who wants to be governor of the state of Michigan. And
that's why I'm calling her an asshole.
We're literally asking for training materials. You know what they say? Under security of elections, we are going to not provide certain information because it could compromise the integrity of the elections. And the interesting thing on that is that the legislature is who makes those laws. We are the legislature. And myself and Representative Rochelle Smith, who's the chair of elections, are the ones that have made this request. And it's basically sue me to get them, right? The truth is what they want to do is they want to try to defeat the subpoena process is what they want to try to do, because if they can defeat the subpoena process, now it protects Dana Nessel, it protects Gretchen Whitmer, it protects department heads of all the various departments from any scrutiny from their legislature. And they get to go autonomously off into the sunset, do whatever they want, and have nobody looking into it. And I'm going to tell you right now, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. Does not matter. The last thing you want is an executive branch that has free reign to do whatever they want with no one looking at them. That's a problem. But that's what they're trying to create in Lansing right now.
Well, that's what we've had
I was going to say, that's what they've created. That's what we lived under this administration.
I moved back, and Granholm was in office, and Snyder, and Whitmer, and that's how it works. Like, again, maybe you can save me $3,147.80 because I want to know, sir, if you could put this in your bit, nursing home stuff. Cuomo and Whitmer and some other governors got a request from the Department of Justice in 2020. We need your nursing home data because we're looking into the civil rights of these elderly people. I simply asked, what did you give them? How seriously did you take this? And it comes back, you can't FOIA the governor, right? She's exempt. So I FOIA Dana Nessel because you're the lawyer for the state. $3,147.80. Either I hook up a GoFundMe or you do it for me. Us, all of us. Would you do that?
Oh, absolutely. We will get to it for sure.
I will email you a copy
Yes.
of the FOIA
Maybe you'd
request.
want to come and testify in oversight committee as to what you know.
You want elections? I process more absentee ballots than anybody in 2020 at Cobo Hall. You want to talk about the nursing homes? I donated my life here, right here. That's Clarence Billett. He's a Korea War vet.
My father.
They dragged. Okay, this is your dad, dude. Yeah. They dragged him around like a bag of fucking laundry 8 times. Right? Commingled him, and then never counted him. This is Brenda Rimson, just a nice old lady. I don't know much about her, but I keep these two out of the many. These cost me $40 a pop. $40 a pop. They're hiding justice.
Yep.
Well, what about the commitment to transparency that Whitmer? Remember, early on, just like, I want this to be a transparent administration. Whitmer.
What an asshole.
But I'm saying, so everybody just forgets about that, or she's able to circumvent or just ignore what she said. So the accountability it's not there on any level.
No, we live in hey, you can make a living on this. You may make a living on this, but we live in a world of 15-second sound bites. And the reality is,
I got to write that soundbite down.
And the reality is that your politicians have recognized that, and so they just make these little clips, and they say what they know that they poll test it, and they say what the politicians or what the voters want to hear, and then they just go and do whatever they want, and that's why this accountability. And again, this is not a Republican Democrat thing.
No,
this is a people thing. This is a citizen. This is a taxpayer thing. Fix the damn roads. Here we are, 6+ years into it.
And no roads.
No roads fixed. And by the way, over $3 billion in bond debt.
Yeah, they did that. Remember they first of all, we're going to have a 50-cent tax.
Right.
Then we're going to borrow it. Then I did fix the roads, and that was the Sleepy Joe's money. And they didn't fix the roads, and now all of a sudden every road is shut down.
Hey,
ridiculous.
No, absolutely correct. And I'm going to tell you, and here's the interesting thing. So, to just delve into my politics a little bit, we actually have a plan to put over $3 billion into roads in the state of Michigan without raising taxes.
And it's just sitting there.
Because they won't move a muscle if they don't get to take more of your tax dollars.
And
meanwhile, the roads aren't fixed.
And Midland doesn't have a senator.
And Midland does not have a senator.
Because Whitmer,
you want to talk about it?
Pro-democracy Gretch, all about,
Well, I saw Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist the other day. I think they're ready. And people were like, okay, we've been ready. Like, what has been the holdup for?
You want to talk about a civil rights violation?
That's what he said. I think we're ready.
Yeah.
In terms of filling that seat. Yeah.
He said, I think we're ready.
Yep.
What an asshole.
Is that your word of the day, Charlie?
It is. That's going to be the title. What an asshole. I can't believe this. Okay, so not everybody in politics is evil. Who's running this? It's not Whitmer. She's a figurehead. Who runs things?
Yeah, I mean, the best way I would describe it is, I hear it back home a lot from people. I think I mentioned this to you before that they're all corrupt. They're all on the take. They're all bought and paid for. That's actually not true. There's a lot of very committed, good people in Lansing. The problem is that some of the people at the top, and I don't even necessarily mean electeds, I mean departments, fundraisers, people who write the big checks, dark money, those people control a lot of the narrative, right? And so when you have people like Gretchen Whitmer or Dana Nessel or Jocelyn Benson, who their real interest is to just garner power, they'll do and say whatever they have to do and say to garner that power. I
voted for Gretchen Whitmer once. I'd never do that again. He's telling you, I try to have an open mind. What was I going to do? Bill Schuette? I mean, he's a nice guy, but the guy's like a cigar store Indian.
Yeah, but you might be surprised. Sometimes it's the guys that you least expect that can actually get the job done, right?
And I think that's what people are starting to realize, that, people talk about political experience. That's not necessarily experience. It's just compliance. They're just conformity and doing the same thing. We talked before we started, and you were saying how there are good people in place. But the process, in my opinion, is not conducive to progress. So people either fall in line and they become, corrupt, for lack of a better word, like everybody else, or they just kind of get out of it?
You know, especially in the House. So I can't speak for the Senate. For the House, you come there and you don't know anything about anything, although you should if you ran, right? You get there, so you're being educated by individuals who have an interest in what they're educating you on, right? And so the ones that come there with the least amount of life experience are the ones that can be the most easily influenced. I came there at 50 plus years old, having a business, being in local politics, having a family, raising children, with life experiences. So I could parse out the BS from the legitimate, but there's a lot of them there that are starry-eyed. The term that you hear over there is first time famous, right? They're first time famous.
Guys,
I like
if I
that.
could just interrupt a second, like, it's Lansing. What?
But it's
this
relative,
isn't the
though.
House of Cards.
But it's relative though, Charlie. I mean, and like you said, everybody, and as the kids call it, they call it thirsty. You know, they're just addicted to the cloud, the access. You know, people are responding to you. You get the cards, the security, and the access, and it's like, wow, that's the closest to celebrity that some of them ever get.
It's the truth. My dad had a saying, rest his soul. He died in fall of 20.
Not in a nursing home, I hope.
No, actually, no. In a hospice home, because by the way, do you know if you're diagnosed with hospice during COVID, the family could be there, right? If you were not diagnosed with hospice, the family couldn't be there. So, 30 of my family members being together couldn't spread COVID because he had a hospice diagnosis. But if we'd had to go to hospital, we would have been able to spread it.
Crazy.
But my dad had a simple saying, and it was simply this, that anyone that desires power should never have it. And so what happens is these individuals come to Lansing, good people, right? But they've never even coached a Little League baseball team. They've never had a moment of authority ever. And listen, it's corrupting. To any human being, it can be corrupting. And I don't necessarily mean that you're breaking the law, but it can corrupt you as an internal, your moral compass. It can corrupt your direction that you want to head. And I would argue, and I would tell to people, when you're looking at the candidate that you're going to select to represent you, stop the personality BS, right? Stop the personality.
I fell prey to it.
And look at their experience, look at their life, look at mistakes they've made and corrections they've made. Because, by the way, we've all made them. But how did you move after that mistake is humongous.
I have not made mistakes. That was all AI.
That's true. That's true. Good cover. Sorry, I got off on a little run there.
But that is, and I tell people this all the time. I call it the McDonald's French fry theory, because that happens if you're the person and now you're in charge of the fries. This is the first time you've been in. So I'm going to hook my friend up. I'm going to give you extra. And if I don't like you, I'm going to burn them or put too much. It's what you are accustomed to. So it's all relative, whether it's working in a fast food restaurant or whether you're making decisions at the state or federal level. It's all relative.
Do you think Kamala Harris burned people's fries?
Did she work at McDonald's?
I don't know.
She claims she did, didn't she? But I don't know.
Wouldn't you remember which McDonald's you worked at?
I would think so.
But we talked about the emotion too. Politicians or elected officials say things to invoke emotion, the whole preacher mentality, and people respond to it without hearing what's being said or what's not being said.
I'm writing down preacher for later because I'm getting a little, when we come back from this commercial break, we should discuss the debate. And
it was a conversation.
I don't really give a shit if his flock says I need to apologize because he lives near you. He lives way up there. Like, do you have hay rides where you live?
Yeah, north of me a little bit. We do, but yeah, close enough.
Apple cider up
blocks,
there?
Yeah.
Apple cider
my
milk?
northern section of my district.
Little pumpkin patch?
Yeah.
Everybody dies of old age?
Absolutely. How about that?
Hallelujah. Does the church own your car?
The church does not own my car.
Oh, by the way, we were just talking about the power brokers. Sure. And there's only one time a year where they expose themselves. And it's now up there at the Mackinac Policy Conference, right? They all get together and they don't even hide it. The media's up there sitting at the table thinking like they're at the table, right? And they're just punks. They're just fucking punks. But we have a live feed from the Mackinac Ferry. The media is now getting off at Mackinac Island. Do we have that live feed, Mark? Okay, let's play that.
Here, Pig.
Oh, Charlie.
Here, Pig.
Here they come.
See, here they come.
Here's the Detroit News. Here comes the free press. Oh, look. Fox 2's up on Mackinac. God, that ferry's crowded.
But it goes back to what Jay said. They want to feel included. They want to feel like they have access, and so it's the human nature element that plays into that.
But
probably feeding them oysters, Jay.
I would argue that politics,
poolside,
politics and the media follow, pop culture now, right? They actually mirror it and they follow it.
Just let that roll, Mark. I'm just fascinated. I've never been to the policy convention, and it's pretty swanky.
You've never been, Charlie?
Hell no.
Okay.
My family's from the island, like 10 generations, and I find this to be an abomination.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I really do. Because they don't do anything for it gets money to the island.
Yeah, it brings money to the island, sure.
But
it's fun, but it's not productive.
It's fun. You don't even drink.
No, I don't drink.
So what's fun? Like smelling bullshit and fudge all day.
I'm saying it's like a work vacation. But no, I'm not going to say that.
No, say it.
No, there's a lot of misbehaving that takes place during the. I'm like,
you mean shagging in the stables?
God, I mean all kinds of stuff. And I'm thinking these are people that are in business, and like the island is so small. Sure. You see what's going on, but people just they let it all hang out. It's interesting.
What do you mean hang out?
Next question for Jay.
Next question.
So I am, as you can see,
you're not at Mackinac.
I am not at the Mackinac Detroit Policy Conference because I actually had some stuff I had to do for real. Doesn't mean there's not. Is there some valuable conversation? I'm sure there is that goes on there, but there's no magic formula that it can go on there or not in Lansing, right? I mean, it can go on in Lansing too. It can go on downtown.
Do you know Mackinac is an old Ojibwe word, which means beautiful?
Really?
Yeah. And policy conference is also an Ojibwe word. It means not.
Not beautiful.
But don't you? The topics have been the same for decades.
It's an original.
Well, so the agenda has been the same.
Yeah, it should be. If I were a Detroit citizen, Detroit taxpayer, I would be frustrated as can be with the reality. I think we did talk about it briefly that we've been talking about the same issues in the city of Detroit for 40 years.
I say that all the time.
For 40 years.
Okay, wait. Let's hear from our sponsors and come back to this, because we had a debate Thursday and it just wrecked Karen because of that. And I'd like to explore that right after this.
You know, your teeth can't heal, but the stock market can. That's just a fact. If the market roller coaster is making you grind your teeth, call or text my friend Luke Nowacki at 248-663-4748. We're all hanging on to this ride like Gayle King and Katy Perry. Just hang on to your flower. Some people are saying that the earth will be better when this is all over. Luke Nowacki, Pinnacle Wealth Strategies. Are you an aging senior wondering where you'll end up? Are you a son or a daughter wishing your mom or dad lived closer to home? Are you a caregiver with good heart and good character, but you feel stuck in a dead-end job? Are you a social entrepreneur looking for a safe real estate investment within a fast-growing market? Well, consider contacting Archangel Senior Management. Archangel offers a solution and a vision to compete with big corporate senior living communities. Call Archangel at 989-614-0316.
Fuck you, jealous media. That was awesome. That debate was awesome. You know what that debate was? It wasn't a circus. That was the only debate that you're ever going to get where the people get to be there, all of them. So if Detroit is this miracle comeback city, then why was everybody so angry in that audience? Why did not one reporter write that down?
They failed to take into consideration that, just as you said, Jay, and just as I say all the time, residents in this city have gone unseen, unheard, and their issues ignored and unaddressed for so long. There's a level of frustration that they felt, and it was obvious there. They expressed it the only way that they knew how. It wasn't disrespectful. It wasn't disruptive. It was disappointing because we are still asking for the same things. And people have been relatively quiet for the past 12 years because they've been made to feel if you speak up, then you are you're the bad person, you're the naysayer. When in reality, no, people in the city deserve more than what they've gotten. not just the new Detroiter, but the native Detroiter. And the native Detroiter has been all ignored for the attraction of the new Detroiter. And that juxtaposition has created a lot of angst. And we saw that at the conversation. It wasn't a debate.
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, so, well, I would agree, and you know, I don't profess to know it all about the city of Detroit. I'm not from Detroit, but I've observed it from my outside. My parents grew up down here. My father was born down here. My mom tell me about the stories when she was a little girl, and you know, the late 40s, early 50s, taking the train from Algonac, Michigan, the interurban, all the way to downtown Detroit to visit her aunt. Detroit was arguably the wealthiest city in the world at one time, right? But there's a jobs desert in Detroit. And, you know, God bless, you know, Gilbert, who's spending a lot of money downtown. And by the way, a lot of tax dollar money being spent there too downtown. And we paint this downtown and we measure the entire city by just this downtown, when the reality is you have all the citizens sitting in the outlier areas of the city of Detroit who are looking for a job, right? They just want a job that can pay their bills, that can take care of their family. You want to reduce crime. You want to reduce petty crime. You want to reduce drug use and drug sales. Bring some businesses to Detroit. You're never going to hit the grand slam, although politicians try to hit the grand slam all this time, writing billion-dollar checks to special interest businesses, right? They think that that's going to solve the problem. No, I'm going to tell you what's going to solve the problem. The 35 small businesses that employ 65 people is what's going to solve the problem. In the city of Detroit is vacant of those things.
Getting taxed to death.
Taxed to death.
Right? You need some service. You know, you can't get it.
Correct.
And we talked a little bit about education. You know, it had declined so much that even a move of the needle is really not a major accomplishment enough to make people prepared. We still have a 50% illiteracy rate in this city. We cannot ignore that. So when you talk about being qualified, not just on paper, but qualified in terms of the person, you know, I mean, what do you do? And these people are in survival mode. Yeah, they're in survival mode.
They're absolutely in survival mode in public education. My wife is a public school teacher, and she will tell you that we moved away from the basics. She's been there for 25 plus years. We moved away from the basics. If you need a guy who can read a blueprint, right, he needs to be able to read the language. He needs to be able to do math, right? He doesn't need all these other assigned studies that you have to do, these other curriculum things you have to do. He needs to be able to read, do math, and then throw some science in there. One of the funny things is that I'm in that lumber industry that I said, you hear this, who needs algebra? Nobody's ever going to need algebra. Actually, I use it all the time. Yeah. And geometry and trigonometry all the time. I apply it in my business. So those basics in public education are what we're missing. For the first time, I don't know if you've heard this number, for the first time in Michigan at least, the ratio of teachers in classroom to administrative employees is 1-to-1.
Yeah. Hey, Claude, remember when I was talking to you about the growth of the administrative class? It's 1-to-1, one teacher for one administrator. Crazy. This is some places where you can solve issues if we talk about it honestly. Because in order to get schools together, you can criticize them. You're completely not criticizing the career of teaching.
No, not at all.
I taught. It's a beautiful thing.
Correct.
But I also seem to, my thought, what changes is the curriculum because you purchase the curriculum. So that's a racket. And then we're teaching to a test. We're not teaching kids. We're teaching to a test. Right.
Teaching should evolve with necessities of society. Right. Yeah. It should evolve for necessities of society. The other, just a side note, the other issue is those administrators, they get paid more than the school teachers get paid. So we're spending more money on people sitting in rooms that aren't educating kids than we are on teachers who are supposed to be educating kids. And that's a problem.
And can we throw English in there as well? I think the ability to communicate is just it's important for anything that you decide to do, whatever it is. Yep. And I can't tell you the times that I have heard educators or people in that space speak incorrectly, and it just I hear elected officials all the time, even people in the media. Well, it's like, what are we doing?
I don't particularly care about how you come off in your manner of speech, but like with my daughter, I don't worry because I know she can use the language and reason from her brain to her hand to the paper. So that tells me everything.
Well, I don't want to hear a person. I don't. I don't like hearing. I don't. That bothers me. So,
What?
I mean, when I'm watching the news and they're ending a sentence with a preposition, I mean, that bothers me. Where is this at?
Well,
Like,
where are
what
we
you
going
talking
to,
about?
Karen? Where are you going to with this?
I don't know.
Oh, my
Well,
bad
but you
English.
bring
I
up an interesting
forgot.
topic because
I was just saying English should be on the list of things that we address.
that
That's
is an
all.
educational.
That's all. Is
it's
all a
educational.
preposition? That's all. What is all?
I am not an English student. I promise you that.
Don't
My
need-
wife could tell you, but
Just throw it in there, Charlie. That's all.
All is Al misspelled.
true. You know, if you look back though, there's three things. And this applies in the city of Detroit. But
There you go with the math again.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry.
He's using it.
Go ahead.
It applies in the city of Detroit, but it also applies in the state, right? People want infrastructure that works.
Yes.
They want education that works.
Yes.
And they want public safety that works.
Yes.
Period. Period.
Yeah. Clean water.
Well, I would throw that in the infrastructure that works,
come on,
right?
look at
That's where I would put it. Those three things are the things that government should be focused on, right? And when we have an $87 billion proposed budget out of the governor's office, that, by the way, raises taxes, because the words are, we can't fix the roads with the $81 billion that we have. What are we spending our money on that we can't fix the roads? $3 billion of $81 billion.
It's a good point. It's a really.
We need to raise taxes to do the core infrastructure. Like, those three things are my pet peeves.
Well, here's because nobody knows. During the debate, question number one that I asked all the candidates was, "What is Detroit's budget?" You know the state budget.
Sure.
They didn't know the budget, and they want to run here. We got the clip, Mark?
This is from the city's chief financial officer's office. Next year, the budget will fall when you add in inflation. The year after that, it will be cut by $50 million. What we have coming up are Biden bucks running out, the pensions being restored. We have to pay for that. It's another 10%. Okay? The fire contract comes due next June. They've had a 1% cost of living adjustment since 2014. They've lost 30% of their retirement. They're going to want something. The police contract comes due in a year and a half. This fiscal year already, we're $25 million in the red. The state has reconfigured its budget because of falling revenues. The United States' credit rating was downgraded. What you going to do? You're going to cut jobs because you can't cut debt payments. You can't cut pensions. How are you going to balance these books, gentlemen? Please.
I would, first of all, focus on bringing in revenue into the city treasury.
There's an
I've
idea.
called for in prior sessions that we should have a forensic, transparent audit, independent, so we know exactly where we are. I've seen reports that said we're about $300 billion shortfall right now.
300
We
billion.
have to maintain what the
Long-term
status quo
debt.
is. We've had over
300 billion?
$827 million of ARPA funding here in the city of Detroit, and now we won't enjoy that type of funding going into the next fiscal year or our budget cycle. So we're not, okay, we're in a vulnerable state. And we see revenues starting to trend down, but we've got to stay the course.
Everything that they're talking about, if they could have did it, they would have done it. It's real simple for me. If you know how to get businesses in here, you know how you know who to engage. We just had several mayors come in here over the last 24 hours. But let's draw a line between efficiency in the system and effectiveness.
I don't feel we got an answer, Karen.
Do we ever?
Would you make it?
Nobody gave you a number.
How long ago did the city of Detroit get bailed out?
What you mean in terms of bankruptcy?
Yeah.
We emerged from bankruptcy in early 2015, late 2014.
And here we are again headed down that path.
Very quite likely.
And what's interesting is it isn't the citizen taxpayers' fault.
No.
Right?
You see it.
But they're the ones that are going to end up penalized.
Yes.
Ask the pensioners.
For sure. sure.
Absolutely. Now,
that's bad leadership. That's bad administration, period. Doesn't matter who's sitting in the chair. It's
Biden set in over $1 billion here. Duggan ate it alive. This downtown clique with the drywall and the Detroit Lions does not make a city. They ate it. It's gone. Now they want to come and you're going to pay. We're going to pay for the Renaissance Center. See this here?
Not through me.
Yeah, and I bought a share. If that goes through, I'm suing the fuck out of them, dude. No way are we making a billionaire another billion.
Well, that's an economic policy that is, as you know, any guy sitting with a piece of paper and pencil can put it down quick to determine that it's a disaster. But that's an economic policy that's been going on in the state of Michigan.
They're up at Mackinac making a policy again. Mark, can we go back to the live feed?
Yeah, there it is.
Here they are, getting off the ferry. Here comes the Detroit Chamber of Commerce. We're at the Ethel Merman pool. Forgive me for the pun, but tried the pigs in a blanket. Cannibals. They're cannibals.
Come on. Hey.
That's going to be the debate tomorrow. Detroit debate. You want to see Killer Karen at the debate? Oh. This is called, I call this Karen sautés Chantil. Roll it.
You've been criticized for your departure as an elected official to join the nonprofit. A question would be, what is going to prevent you from abandoning another elected position? If you were, that's not a negative question. That's just a legitimate question because people want to know.
Look, it's a real question, and I've been asked it before. First of all, I've never abandoned anything. I've never abandoned this city. I've spent my entire life grinding for this city. My first job was at Focus Hope at 17 years old, and I've been serving Detroiters since I was 17 years old. The most vulnerable populations in this city have been my focus my entire adult life, and that will not change. When I left City Council, I was leaving one of 9 seats. The city did not stop. There's one mayor. I would not run for mayor and then leave. That would not happen.
Listen, there's a difference between career politicians and people who actually do the job because they're actually trying to just help their community. There's a big difference. You see it in Lansing, you see it at the local level.
You want to see how plugged in she is to our community. And by the way, as Detroit goes, the state goes. There's just no getting around. Sure. Detroit is capital city.
Sure.
It just is. When Karen asked that, because you're in the moment, I told you when we were doing, I was just watching you. When you spoke, people spoke with you. So when you asked that, there were so many people attuned to what you were asking. It was amazing. I thought it was beautiful. It was a great question, and people wanted that answered.
Well, these are, again, like I said, for the last 12 years, people have been quiet. And then now we've got a mayor election. Everybody's looking. People say things privately that they don't always say publicly. But that is a question that I have heard consistently. I know one of her competitors, used it to kind of attack her. I just wanted an answer, because people say, okay, you were in the middle, you were here and you left. Call it abandonment, call it suspension, departure, however you want to characterize it. But she left. And so people want to know, why did you leave? And would you leave again if something that appeared to be better or different come along? That was a legitimate question. It was not meant as an attack. It was a question.
She was city council president. So you're the next mayor. So I don't buy there's 9 council people, but to her defense, she didn't say it, but she said it afterwards. It was so corrupt, the council at that time. The feds were all in. She didn't want a part of it. And I said, you should have said that.
She should have said that.
You should say that, because that I remember. Monica Conyers feeling my balls. You know what I mean? Other council members using their granddaughter's phone because everybody's shit is tapped. This is nuts. And the people have had enough. And again, fuck you if you say it's a circus, because they didn't put that together. Man, we busted our ass doing that.
Her saying that would have eliminated anybody ever asking her that again. We aren't expecting miracles. We're not expecting them to be magicians. We know the reality of the landscape that we live in and that they have to function in. So don't pretend like it has to be something else. It doesn't have to be packaged. It doesn't have to be performative. Just tell us what's really going on.
Well, but that was a political answer, right? Because politicians tend to hedge what they say because they never know if there's an if come from somebody they might offend when they say it, right? And that is something that as a voter you should pay attention to. Mm-hmm. You should pay attention to the people who make a promise during their campaign and then never deliver, right?
Absolutely.
That's an obvious thing to pay
Everybody
attention
forget, and again, this is why the media bothers me so. You're supposed to remind them. That's your job.
They don't do their homework, Charlie.
Yeah, these people are busy.
They don't.
And they're expecting you to wade through the chaff and like, what is it, man? What is it? Like, they were happy that we put that on because they've never been invited. We got anything more on the floor?
Yeah. About the riverfront.
Oh.
Okay. So the riverfront. Do you know about the riverfront?
No.
You got to know this.
Bring me
man.
up to speed here. So
Okay.
I'm sure.
The Renaissance Center.
Yeah.
And we want money.
Yep.
And somebody. There's something called the Conservancy. So from the Ambassador Bridge to Belle Isle, it's a conservancy. I'm like, who owns the riverfront? Mm-hmm. $40 million got stolen, embezzled, right? The guy was using credit cards. How did everybody on city council, anybody from Lansing on there? The mayor's people, Gilbert's people, like
it's a large
nobody
board.
Watched. We had one accountant and he stole $40 million with a credit card? Okay, so we ask him.
Too much money going around there if that's the case. But
What is the Riverfront Conservancy? Who owns the riverfront? And why is a guy...
That's right.
What is the Riverfront Conservancy, first of all?
So it is it's managed by the Conservancy, a nonprofit. It is owned by the Conservancy itself.
Owned by the Conservancy?
Yeah, from my understanding it is, yes. And
the riverfront?
Yes, it's managed and operated by the river. It's a nonprofit.
The property continues to be owned by the city and the state.
Hold on, wait, really?
The Conservancy takes care of the property.
So let me
She's
finish,
on the
though.
board.
You have to interrupt.
They'll work it out. They'll work it out.
I will say that I think all of us were displeased and upset at what happened with the Conservancy as it relates to that.
Council President,
listen to the crowd.
You were on the board.
I'm on the Is
that not an oversight role?
No,
So
no, not at all, not at all.
But which is to say it's symbolic, right?
No.
It's you're on a board. It's a ceremonial.
We are yeah, in some regard. That is correct. We are appointed to numerous boards as in our positions, right? And so it somewhat can be. And I don't want to say ceremonial, but yes, we are. But again, what happened in that situation, I do not take any credit whatsoever. And I don't think Matt Cullen or none of the leadership should. But I think at the end of the day, we have to continue to invest in our riverfront. We want to make sure that we maintain that as a world-class riverfront in our city and ensure that the growth and the progress goes back into our neighborhoods.
Jay?
Holy smokes. What? I always go back to the voters, though. I always go back to the citizens, taxpayers. They gotta make a change. They have to fundamentally swing in a different direction because what have you got to lose? You're being fleeced.
Did you? Yes, you see the audience.
Yes,
jam-packed. Probably 1,000 people coming and going. 500-600 at any one time. Mm-hmm. They are hungry. They're well aware, and they showed up at Northwest Detroit, right, to look. Mm-hmm. And listen to this, and you heard them. Oh my fucking God!
Yeah,
a ceremonial. What?
They want answers, though. I mean, and when the people that are in decision-making positions can't provide solid, substantive answers and accountability,
oversight.
When
oversight.
Listen, the buck stops with the person in charge, right? Ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
When's the last time you heard a politician say, "Hey, I didn't know anything about that, but it's my fault. I was the person in charge, and I'm responsible for the people who are operating underneath me"? You haven't heard that out of a politician in a long time because they're afraid to wear the wrong color blazer on TV because some polling data says that it might offend someone, right? That's how far off the rails we've gone with politicians. They're not about taking care of you anymore. They're about winning elections, raising money, and garnering power. period. As soon as the electorate can understand that, they'll start to put different people in place. Roll the dice on the guy in your hometown that just wants to correct the problem as opposed to the career politician that speaks good.
Or, the guy that just moved in your hometown from 39 Mile Road in the pumpkin patch. You got 3 addresses in Detroit. Do not bust my balls. Those are the facts. I love my priest, but I'm not voting for him for mayor.
Right.
And he doesn't want to be mayor. He cares about what's going on in here.
Right.
It's a beautiful man. Claudette, he wants to see you in church. Okay? Every time I go up there for the host, he goes, "Where's Claudette?" I'm like,
she's there in spirit.
I'm trying to commune. All of a sudden it's the Holy Spirit and the Claudette spirit.
She's there in spirit. Yeah. A church is a building like a restaurant. Like you don't have to go to church to have a relationship with God or to connect. Just like you don't have to go to a restaurant to eat.
I just go to hear the old man.
Okay. Well.
I just go to hear the old man. I want to hear the word and I want to hear the homily because the old man is the shepherd of the community.
Okay.
He'll let me know what's going on. I just like him. And sometimes I just go and I sneak in and I hear the word and I hear his words and I'm out because I'm not doing this, bro. My church, give me a hand. Our Father, I like, ooh, no.
I go climb in a tree stand in northern Michigan. That's where my church is at. I spend my time right there with nature, and that's how I
in a tree stand.
And that's a good thing.
You up there looking for some white tail, huh?
I am, yeah. There's no doubt about it.
Charlie.
Up in the woods. Jay DeBoyer, Chairman of the House Oversight, Karen Dumas, the soul of Detroit. Love you guys. Okay, now just to review before we leave.
Yeah.
$3,147.80.
That was your Freedom of Information request?
Yeah,
cost?
for what did you give the feds for the nursing home? Cornack, Nessel,
Whitmer.
Mm-hmm. How about 35th District Senate House?
35th
Don't forget that.
When are we going to get that election?
Well,
we're just about ready, I heard.
Yeah, that's just about ready. What I would say is there's a couple of things. If you recall, there was 2 Democratic state representatives a year ago that ran for, I think, mayors of the respective communities, and they won. And those things were called just like that.
Because those are Democratic seats.
Correct. This one in particular in the 35th. I mean, could you violate someone's civil rights more than by not providing them representation in the Senate? Agreed. I mean, could there be a larger? I mean, I guess you could. Depends on your person, who you are. But arguably, one of the most fundamental thing is representation in our government. And the 35th district is sitting there vacant and not being called.
Just for people listening, this is fucking Midland.
Correct.
This ain't Podunk.
Correct.
Unbelievable.
I mean, you're talking about 250,000 plus people,
plus an economic motor in this state
that does not have a Senate representative.
Because then the Senate would be 50-50,
right?
And then Gilchrist would always have to.
Right.
Cast the deciding vote, which would ruin his career.
Right. Correct.
It's all game.
Yeah.
It goes back to choosing the wrong blazer.
That's correct. It's all a show. It's a game. And if you like to me that listen, you can stand on TV and say anything you want, promise anything you want. It's the actions. That action to me says I don't really care about the people. I care about my political gain. Period.
Well, anything that I've said on TV wasn't me. It was AI.
AI.
It was Charlie AI.
Me too. In fact, this is AI.
Oh, next week I will be in Texas doing the Dave Landau show. So we're going to simulcast it. Might be doing Glenn Beck.
Normal world.
You got okay. There you go. And then I'm going to do Tim Pool the week after that. I'm going to fly out to the coast.
So wait, I got 2 weeks off.
Yeah, remember you were. It just you need to catch your breath.
Yeah, I do. But okay, then cool. I'm going.
You said you're going to Jamaica?
I just got back from Jamaica. I'm going somewhere though. Okay, so that's cool.
How about Gary?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
You can go through Gary.
No, I don't know Gary well enough to go through Gary.
Thanks for being here, Jay.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Pleasure.